So it's been a while since I've appeared on the Learning Crypto YouTube channel. Hello, my name is Ash, Market Mobster, and I've been very busy, but we're going to look at the weekly news, what's been happening. We'll look at some technicals as well. But the main point is, why is Bitcoin being dumped, essentially? If you're new, and if you've seen me before on other channels, please make sure you hit the subscribe on this one. Let's get this one ramped up and hit the like button. I don't think we've hit 50 likes in a while. Let's try and up that. Hit that like button now, please. So let's get into it. Let's keep it simple, but we are going to talk about our newsletter first. It is a new newsletter. We've moved over from Substack to our own native one, and the writers, Ash and Jamie, have been doing a splendid job. In terms of news, what has happened, for obvious reasons, if you don't know this, the SEC have announced that they are no longer pursuing the legal case, basically against some of the big backers and the big elements around Ethereum, which coincides with a new ETF with Ethereum, doesn't it, right? We've also got the ETFs having one of the worst weeks ever, in terms of the outflows. But previously, as I've just said, this is last week's news, but yesterday we had some inflows, which is good. And the meme coin world has seen a little bit of a plummet, okay? But nothing too crazy. So the main news that we need to cover is stuff that's been happening over the last few days. And I've just cut myself. Oh, how have I done that? Random, I know. I'm bleeding. Anyways, moving on. Donald Trump will be talking potentially at a convention, the Bitcoin 2024 convention in Nashville next month. Now, if you're out of this world and if you're not in a bubble, on our live stream to talk a lot about politics, talk about the election, and often we talk about how this election with Trump versus Biden, etc., you could probably argue Mr. Kennedy too, is very much could be a crypto-related one a little bit in terms of policy and what's going to happen in terms of donations. We've already had Biden rumors of donations. We've also had, Donald Trump getting donations from quite a lot of people. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see. But him actually at a cryptocurrency convention is mental when you think about it. Some altcoin news, certainly for Solana, that's been happening over the last few days, is ZK compressions, a new feature that will drastically cut costs and enhance scalability for developers. Now, obviously, we do take the piss a little bit out of Solana with its scalability problems, and sometimes it just goes a bit buggy and on and off. But this will majorly help. There's a lot of utility and throughput on Solana at the minute because people are using it, and it's getting very much, clogged, and this will obviously help, and this will cut a lot of things. It's like when you build a website, the more pages you've got, you can put compression on it, and it sucks the page sizes in. It's quite good. So this will help massively. In other news, MicroStrategy are buying more Bitcoin, and they have bought more Bitcoin. Their new announcement of 12,000 more Bitcoins has been purchased, essentially rising to 226,000 BTC. If we're looking at their holdings, this is what it's at. And it is just gradually just getting eaten into. It's getting, bigger and bigger and bigger. And it all coincides with the fact that the market did drop when they announced they were going to do a $500 million raise to do this. And it makes you wonder why. But, they've proven it. They've proven the fact that dollar cost averaging is working. And we are starting to see more and more people look at buying Bitcoin. Metaplanet over in Japan. We've got Michael Dell, who's a founder of Dell Computers. He's also looking to purchase more Bitcoin and stuff. Absolutely huge. So yeah, it's starting to definitely catch on. But the big cloud, and there's two clouds currently, is sell orders. There's two situations. We've got one, MtGox. Number two, we've got governments, right? If you're going to relate this to altcoins as well, altcoins have got big sell orders from token emissions, people getting their tokens and selling them because they're panicking. But this, again, as I say, the words fear, emotion, whatever you want to know it as, people are panicking, right? This could be, as it says here, overblown. And I think potentially, yes. We do not know, and I've mentioned this on my own personal channel, I've mentioned this on the roundups, on premium. We don't know what people are going to do. If I was the person who was to get said Bitcoin, right? So say, going back into 2012, 2011 sort of period when I was first learning about Bitcoin, and I heard about it through, football forums and stuff back in the day, long time ago. If I was to buy in MtGox and I lost my MtGox monies at the point, when you get a partial element of that back with the value of what it is, I don't know what I'd do. I don't think I'd sell. I'd be like, oh, I've just got my money back. I've just got loads and loads of money. Because I believe personally, this is how I look at it. If I was buying at those early days, I do not think I would have held on. You wouldn't, would you? You probably would have cashed out $1,000, $2,000. Not all the way to $65,000, $70,000, would you? So yeah, interesting. So I wonder what they do. Maybe they trade it for an altcoin. Maybe they keep it. Maybe they sell partials and do whatever, but we'll see. And as I say, Germany are currently selling partial Bitcoins from their government stack. 24 million in a BTC transaction to Kraken and Coinbase, as well as another load of 30 millions. And they've basically sent about 195 million, which is fair enough. But it just makes you wonder why and what they're doing and why would they not keep it? I would personally, if I was in charge of the government treasury of Bitcoin, which they do have a decent chunk, by the way, I would look to keep it and use it as a reserve fund for something on a rainy day. Maybe like potholes or something, like shit things like that. Potholes and tying cyclists up to chains because they shouldn't be on the road. That sort of thing would probably be quite good. So let's do some technical analysis. Let's look at Bitcoin first and foremost. Now, the weekly time frame doesn't look good. We have hit a level of support. We have bounced, but I feel we're going to pull back and potentially go back and retest this and go lower. We are only, 60 plus days post-halving. There's always a low. 100 days plus is where it gets interesting. We're often lower than halving at around the 100-day mark anyways. So that's going to be huge. And I've mentioned that a number of times in premium. By the way, links below. Use discount code Bitcoin. You get 20% off all packages, first payment. If you use a yearly, you get 20% off your first one. Anyways, the reason why I want to say this is I think panic is on, people's minds. I think people look at this chart structure and go, oh my God, this is shit and we're going to go down here. If we go down here, yeah, markets do correct. And this has been a massive run. Now, this is the thing. People are panicking right now. They're looking at this level and they go, wow. But when we were $60,000, in 2021, when we were $60,000 at even in February, people were like buzzing. Like, okay, let's go, lads. Now look at the sentiment's totally changed. And look how low the RSI is getting. Already 56 on the weekly. The daily time frame, and I mentioned this in one of my tweets not too long ago, we were at 25 levels. We were all the way down to when Bitcoin was all the way down here in this consolidation zone in in August, September time. So that's crazy when you think about it in that sense. So we need to be somewhat careful. When we look at the lower time frames, it is just a slow slug, and it's just a slow bleed. So that could be very, very interesting to see where we go next. Now, Ethereum, in my opinion, looks a little bit more interesting, certainly when we look at the overall picture. I think we are going to do a leg up eventually towards the previous all-time high. That is the next leg up. The question is, how low do we go first? Do we correct from this point and we stick around this 0.382 level, or do we go to the 618 level, or do we go even lower? Now, if you're wondering what this is our indicator. Feel free to check it out. It's on the Traders Lounge. It's a fantastic indicator. There's a free version of this as well, so don't worry. You can see that on X. There's a link below to the free indicator in our link tree. Problem you have with momentum is, where do we go next? So, yes, we have forming, higher lows, yay, but we have also formed a lower high. We need to really get going now. But there's a more probability chance, in my opinion, that we are going to go and retest this level and potentially go and retest lower levels. It would not shock me in the slightest with the ETF news and the element around that and what happened with Bitcoin's ETF at the introduction and the launch of it. We might dump here as well. The retail sentiment coin of Binance had a huge deviation, certainly at this level here. And the market interest has really fallen off a cliff. Engagement is down all over the place. It's not looking good. And probably are going to go and retest this $520 level, give or take around this point. But it's a one to keep an eye on, just due to the fact of obviously market sentiment. And if you trade in Binance, is usually quite a good one to trade, certainly when the interest picks up. Now, in terms of dominance, and I know this is boring for a lot of people, but ultimately I think we are going to see some reactions around this level. We are pulling back, but what was interesting the other day was the fact that Bitcoin was dumping more than altcoins, but altcoins have been absolutely perished over the last, God knows how long, realistically. I've lost count. So we need to be mindful of that one. But the main thing we need to look at is the fact that the total 2/BTC is currently at levels of potential resistance where we could go and retest these lows, and we could find that altcoins get burned even more. Now, in terms of the fundamentals of the dollar, we are currently, you could probably argue a lot of things here. It's a bit ugly. Not the greatest chart in the world. But if we are looking at the weekly and this impulse and pullback, it looks like we're going to continue going higher. If we're going to change this, it's probably quite likely to look at this impulse here. We went to the roughly the 618 levels. There's a good chance here that we're going to go probably higher and go and retest this level. We shall see, but this is a rejection. This is a rejection. Are we going to reject here? This is a key level, right? If this rejection goes lower, we may well find that crypto goes up a little bit, but a lot of policy, a lot of elements, and this is currently bullish right now. This is kind of like, you know, we are in a little bit of an uptrend, certainly since December time. So this isn't looking good. And the final bit I want to talk about is Bitcoin miners. Now, if you are in our live streams and you're watching them every week, we talk about these a lot. Hut is about to break structure potentially and continue going higher, hopefully. Iron was another one that's already done this. We're hoping for the same sort of results. Mara, ClearSpark, and I believe Riot are the ones that are not really using AI technology, so they're a bit flat at the minute, but they're mainly Bitcoin only, which is fair enough. So they're not going to get these big, massive surges. Yeah, they're Bitcoin miners, but they also have data centers with AI, so they are doing pretty damn well. But as I say, the big boys are not really doing much yet, but they could very, very soon, and things might get interesting, but it all depends on Bitcoin. As I said at the start of this video, we're only 60 days from post-halving, so there's not really much of an authority kind of shakeout just yet. But things may change soon. So there we go. Quick little roundup for you. Hope you enjoy. If you like this stuff, leave a subscribe. Every Wednesday, I'm going to do like a weekly output and a roundup. Certainly, these are the sort of videos that you get in our premium anyways.